Today's update is about perennials and the use of perennials. There are three broad categories of plants that we use to grow food. Those are annuals, which is a single year, biannuals, which live for about 2 years, and perennials, which is a crop that lasts for more than 2 years. In permaculture, we want to use plants that are perennials as much as possible, because they allow us to keep growing from year to year without disturbing the soil or without having to reset. So I'm going to start with two plants that we tend to think of as annuals, when actually they're not, or you can manage them as perennials instead. So what we have here is sweet potato, and we also have some pepper plants. Pepper plants can be managed as an annual in a warm climate where the cold won't kill them off from year to year. You can just trim them back in the spring. They'll put out new growth and go back into production. With sweet potatoes, what you can do is basically harvest the large tubers out of your bed and leave the smaller tubers and the roots system intact. That will allow the plant to come back again and go back into production when the weather warms again. The great thing about sweet potatoes is they can be used as a cover crop, so you can actually plant other plants that are taller within the sweet potatoes, and the sweet potatoes will cover the ground and keep it cool and moist. Other perennial plants would be perennial herbs, spinach analogs that we use in permaculture, and things like flowers and fruits and things of that matter. So what I have here is I have an African blue basil. African blue basil is a perennial basil, so you can produce basil year-round. It gets kind of thin and weak in the cooler months, but it'll spring back when it gets hot, and during the hottest, wettest months it will grow like crazy. What we have here on the left is a Moluccan spinach, which is what we have growing in this bed over here. And right next to it is a Vietnamese spinach, or Hoang Ngoc. Now, the Moluccan spinach can survive a freeze as long as the rootstock survives. It'll come back in the spring from that rootstock. The Hoang Ngoc is not cold hardy. It has to be protected from cold. These spinach-like plants, there's a lot of different ones. There's also as well as Moluccan spinach. You have Okinawan spinach, Malabar spinach. These are all different plants that are not actually spinaches, but they have a taste similar to spinach, can be used similar ways. They also provide a green that can be used raw or can be used in soups and stews and stir fries and things like that during the summertime when you can't really grow spinach. A lot of these plants also have medicinal properties. And they're really easy to grow from cuttings. What we have here is a little Moluccan spinach and a sweet potato in a container of water. You can just root these things right in water. Almost all of these will root easily in water. Next to that, we have two different types of hibiscus. And by the way, this right here, the okra, is a very large relative of the hibiscus. So it's also a hibiscus. It's just a very large one, and we grow it for the pods. With these hibiscus, the one on the left is a yellow hibiscus. The one on the right is a false rosal. These are pretty small specimens. They get much, much larger than this. All of the parts of the plant are edible. The leaves can be used in soups, stews, salads, stir fries. The leaves of the false rosal have kind of a tangy taste, almost like cranberry. Sometimes people call it cranberry hibiscus, but that's not accurate. There's a different plant that's a cranberry hibiscus. The calyxes that are formed from the flowers have a lot of medicinal properties. A lot of times people use those in teas and other things. If you've ever gotten a tea mix that has hibiscus in it, this is what they're talking about, these kinds of plants. The calyxes from them are used to make teas. The last perennial I'm going to talk about is a moringa. The moringa is a plant that is entirely edible. The entire plant is edible. This is a small specimen. It's a few months old. It's going to become a tree as it grows older. The leaves can be eaten raw, or they can be dried and powdered as a food additive or flavoring. The flowers are edible and are great attractors for bees and other pollinators. The flowers create pods. The pods can be eaten while they're immature as a vegetable, and the seeds can be eaten as like a snack food or can be pressed for oil. The root has a flavor like horseradish and can be used as a seasoning. It's a really important plant that's being grown around the world to provide extra protein for people, especially for like pregnant women in poor areas. It is drought and disease and pest resistant, which makes it a really great plant to be used to kind of provide food security to people. This is our coverage today of perennial crops.